Welcome to the Recovery Centered Podcast, the space for honest conversation about healing, hope, and the journey through mental health and addiction recovery. Each episode, we sit down with people making a difference, from therapists and researchers to change makers and to survivors. Now to explore what recovery really looks like in the world. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Beachway Therapy Center. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Recovery Center Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Roberto. What an honor it is to be here with my newfound friend, Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, I'm blessed. I feel so honored to be able to bring people like you to the couch.
Uh-huh.
In order to help you, me, and somebody else who may be struggling in silence. Because there is a way out.
Absolutely.
And I know you found a way out 36 years ago,
Yes.
which is amazing, and
It is, but it's so much one day at a time. That's what I always share when I share in a meeting about in an anniversary meeting. I always say this is, there's no rocket science to this. It's one day at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was sick 19 years ago, I used to go in and out of the rooms, and I would say, "Oh, these people, these people. I drink just
Yes.
like them. What do you mean these people?"
I know.
And,
I know.
all their little sayings, and they're so corny. Yeah, just I just drank my house away and my marriage away. You guys keep coming back. But
It's true.
But if you
It's
think
true.
about it, like you said, one day at a time. I think my first meeting, I was in my 20s, but so just for the sake of conversation, I don't know, say I was 25. Well, I became 25 at one day at a time.
There you go.
Like,
I know. And
whether
I
I was
became the
drinking or
age
not.
I am.
Huh?
I became the age I am one day at a
But
time too.
yeah, so I feel so fortunate to be around people like you. Like, I have a lot of respect for you, not only in your personal adventure and your struggles, but you found a way out, you overcame, which I
Yeah.
feel is amazing, because so many people don't get out of the mental health addiction space.
I know. And it's so sad, working as a therapist for all these years with people that are trying to get recovery. It's just so sad when people don't get it, and
Isn't it
and
frustrating for
it-
you sometimes? Is it?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I worked with the Seminole tribe of Florida, and we had people that would be in and out, in and out. I mean, that's not
Mm,
uncommon,
yeah.
but I used to tell them, this is the hard way. The easy way is get sober, and do it one day at a time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know anything worse than mental health and addiction that moves like it, because everything else
Yes.
for me, I think, is like intellectual, like,
Hmm.
okay, well, you don't do that because you'll burn your hand. Okay. You stop because you may get T-boned at the light if you don't. Okay. You know,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
everything is intellectual to a
Yes.
certain extent. But even intellectually, I know what happens when I drink, and I still do it.
I know. I know. And when I was young, like I really got into my drinking addiction when I was around 17. And there was a bar in Tampa that would serve me, and I had a fake ID, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was just like I would throw up every time I drank, and then I would do it again
Mm.
and do it again and do it again. It's just so crazy about
I
addiction.
mean, it sounds to me like you're the alcoholic that wasn't really drinking it for taste, or you were just drinking it for the effects it produced, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you agree with me, or I mean, just, or in general, I should say, because I always think, I always say a lot, 'cause I'm very fortunate, right? I have a platform to reach that one person like you or I
Yes.
who's struggling in silence. The members of the Good and Fine Club.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's good.
Yes.
Everything's fine. Do you? I look at alcoholism, drug addiction, like it's the only illness I know that tells me I don't have a problem,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
keep doing it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the consequence.
I know. I know. And that was one thing that made me at least slow down,
Mm,
to the point where I could take a look at it. It
Yeah.
still took a long time for me to get sober, but I finally started to put together the idea that when I drank, there were these consequences, and things like that weren't
Yeah.
happening if I wasn't drinking,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's like the main culprit, like, when I'm working with a lot I'm not a therapist like you, I'm a counselor, though.
Mhm.
And when I'm working with a lot of people, I say that same thing, like, if you're
Yeah.
trying to control it, something's up,
Exactly.
right? Like you
Exactly.
were just saying in your own words, that's what I heard, and, you know, it's just amazing. Like, what is the core issue? Like, did you have core issues, you think? Like, do you think you're genetically cut out for it? Was there unresolved issues that made you keep turning to that even though you
Um,
knew there'd be punishment coming along with it? Or
yes to all of that.
yeah,
Yes to all of that.
yeah.
Okay, so in my family, I'm from, like, a Irish German background,
Mm.
and my great-great-grandfather was from Ireland, and he and his brother were when they came over to America, they were running moonshine in Kentucky.
Oh.
Okay, then my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, um, owned a tavern in Chicago, and, like, the family stories were about him driving his Cadillac up a tree, things like that when he was drunk.
Ouch.
So
Yeah.
so I would say this, I came by it honestly. There was always alcohol in our
Mm.
house. My dad drank. Um, I don't know if he was one of us or not, but he drank
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And so, but I was the kind of kid. So I was a family of 7 kids. We were Catholic. And my dad would let us have a sip of his beer. But when I got the can, and I was like 5 years old, 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and when I got the can, I would just like tip it up and, keep going. They'd have
Yeah.
to kind of wrench it away.
Oh, yeah. I've heard a similar,
He would have to take it away. But
yeah.
so yes, I think it's genetic. There were some issues, core issues that I had to deal with,
Mm.
and I talk about it a little bit in the book that we're going to talk about. Um, and then when I was drinking a lot in the beginning, like 18, 19, I was in an abusive relationship and those kinds of
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
that just fueled
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
addiction. They didn't cause it, but they just fueled it,
Correct.
and I would just drink more and more. So, yeah.
There's a lot of like similar or classic behaviors attached to alcoholism, addiction, like kind of like we attract what we know,
Right.
right? So it's kind of like I get into abusive relationship. What's going on with me?
Mhm.
There's so much that goes hand in hand, but I believe that's like the secret sauce.
Yes,
Y-
I
y-
love the secret sauce. I think I talk
Do
about it in
you?
my book.
Right? It's like because if I'm pickled. I know
Mhm.
I'm pickled. I can't go back to being a cucumber. I know it.
Right.
But my gift and like what people like you helped me with was, to see. And I like your style. I picking up on your style. I don't think you're one of those shove it down your throat kind of therapist.
I'm not.
Eh,
I'm not.
Yeah,
I like confront, like, through the back door.
correct. Respectfully is what I hear.
Yes. Oh, yes,
Yeah, and then you let
absolutely.
them make their own decision up,
Yep.
right? But I'll always
Yep.
be here for you to a certain extent.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I just but what I've learned is like I get to change my thinking
Yes.
because it's my thinking that kept putting it in,
Yes.
nothing else. So today, well, I mean, what a gift to understand. Like, I have the disease of alcoholism
Mhm.
and I'm treating it one day at a time, like we were talking about, the one day at a time thing, um, with all the tools that I've been given to over the years, like
Uh-huh.
it's like a certain discipline.
Yes.
Right? Kinda like
Mhm.
you, like so we have Mary right here today with us. She's a licensed mental health counselor. She's also an author. She's 36 years sober, like, that's a discipline, like, that's a
Yes.
certain discipline, and here she is obviously for a few years now, because I know you became a LMHC, licensed mental health counselor, how long ago?
Um, let's see. 30 years ago.
So 30 years, not only were their own personal struggles, but as a professional, her and I have a lot in common, right? She has a different approach than me, maybe a lot of
Mhm.
similarities, but therapists, counselors, there's a lot of overlap in there.
Absolutely.
But,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but, Mary's been seeing people at their worst for 30 years.
Yes. Yes.
It's a recovery is a different type of discipline, but she's been treating herself one day at a time, just like she drank one day at a time. And
Yep.
it's really amazing. A Therapist's Little Guide to Sanity, a memoir and survival manual for therapists and other curious humans. This is a wonderful book, and I'll let Mary tell you how you can get it sometime during the cast. But right here on the back, it says available Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Uh-huh.
When did you write this? When did you sit down and?
Um, in the last year. So I retired from full-time work 2 years ago in September.
Oh wow!
And the first thing I did, I had a book of poetry that I had written when I was getting sober. So it was a lot about loss and grief and all the changes that were happening in my life. And that time period, it ended with like getting spirituality and my spiritual connection. And I published that. And after I did that, I was like, oh, I can write a book. And I always wanted to write a book.
Mm.
I worked with in my internship, I worked with AIDS patients. And the first book I thought I was going to write was about AIDS patients and their families. And I was actually starting to interview people to do this book. And then, that time passed and it never happened. Then I was going to write a book about relationships. And yeah, that didn't work out too well. I don't do couples therapy, so that tells you, where I'm at with that. But but so that never happened. But then after I published the poetry book, I started to write this book, and it took like a year. It took a year. I would just sit down. Originally, the book was supposed to be only humorous
Mm.
because I use my sense of humor in life, in my therapy with clients. It's really important to me because I got that back in recovery.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like a really precious thing I got back in recovery.
Hmm.
So it was going to be humorous. And then one day I didn't have any kind of structure for writing. I kind of outlined some chapters
Mm.
and what I was going to put in those chapters. But other than that, I just sat down with a pen and a notebook and wrote. And one day I wrote about a client that committed suicide.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this book is going to be more than just something humorous. It's going to be it's going to talk about the whole picture, because I have a friend who's a writer and she said, no, that's the whole picture.
Mm.
That's the good and the bad. You have to put everything in there. It's
Mm.
not like authentic.
Yeah.
So that's what happened in the book. Yeah. Yeah.
The death by suicide, right? It's obviously a tragedy, but I still get a little upset, but I also understand, I think a lot of people say a lot of things out of lack of knowledge.
Right.
But is it a fair question to ask you what's your take on death by suicide? Like, is the mind corrupted? Like what happens to where it's that point of no return and it's kind of like it's a badge of honor, if I'm saying it right? I don't know if that's true or not, but
Hmm.
what gets a person there? Do you have your own personal or professional, maybe a little mix of both?
Yeah. It's a combination of things. First of all, the client that I knew that committed suicide was also drinking and using drugs. Although at the time that the person committed suicide, they were in a facility. They were in a mental health
Uh,
facility. So they had really, significant mental health issues. And I think, they were just tired,
yeah.
just tired,
Yeah.
just tired. And I always think that suicide is kind of the the far side of depression. All mental illnesses are on a scale, and you can be a little bit depressed, or you can be like suicidal. That's the two ends of the spectrum. And yeah, I think and usually I think when people commit suicide, they're also under the influence of alcohol or drugs, because that takes away the kind of mental thing that will stop you from doing it.
Yeah.
You
Thank you
know?
for explaining that, and I hope it reaches all those people that say it's selfish. How could they do that?
Oh, yeah.
That bothers me a bit. I gotta
Yeah.
admit, I'm still Tim. I'm still a human.
Yes. Yes.
Have I been given a tremendous gift, and do I practice gratitude and live a life like, 100%. But
Yes.
some things, can still pinch you the wrong way, and that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Losing a client, that's a big deal. A
Yeah.
really big deal. I remember I had a professor when I was still in my master's program, Dr. Tucker. I'm sure he's not even alive anymore because he was pretty old then. And he one day in class, he just says, "I'm going to tell you about a client of mine."
Wow.
And he was seeing this high school age kid, and he saw him after school, and everything was fine. Nothing was going on with him. They had a good session. He felt really good about it. He walked him back to the school bus to go home, and that night he killed himself. So,
And that's another classic, right? Like, and
yeah,
majority of times you won't even know, right? Because they've
exactly.
made that internal commitment, like that commitment, you think?
Yes, because once they make the commitment, a lot of times they stop talking about it.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Yeah.
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 So that you won't try to intervene or
Yeah.
do anything to help them. Yeah. Once they make the commitment. So,
Yeah, I mean, something, to get to that point where that's the mind's telling you that that's your option, that's your best option. Like,
yeah.
that's to me, I'm not qualified really to talk about it, but to keep it simple, because a lot of the simplicity I understand more.
Mm-hmm.
And the mind is corrupted.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
just corrupted because there's people that are married and they have children, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a really great career, and all that stuff we supposedly attach happiness
Yes.
and all that too. And
Yeah.
so but you're such a dedicated, like, you're the true social worker.
Thank
You
you.
like,
I'll take that as a huge compliment.
oh, it's
Yeah.
huge compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what social work's all about, right? Keep showing up. You took you said yes to my invitation right away,
Mhm.
and you don't live on this coast on the West Palm, you're on the West Coast of Florida, and
Yes.
you came over, you have a friend. It's just like I think that's so cool, So
Thanks.
uh, um so when you wanted to write the book, how long's it been out now?
A couple of months, not very long.
Oh, this is perfect timing. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
you got to get it now, therapist. You got to get it now. It's written for us,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So was it the death by suicide of your client that pushed you closer into this, or you've always been wanting to do a book, or?
I always wanted to do a book, and then, it just started to take shape.
Mm,
When I started to write, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is
yeah.
good. And how I see it, Tim, it's like another way to help someone. Like
Amen.
we talked a little bit before
Yeah.
we got on air about, if you just reach one person.
Yep.
And I have always said that, because sometimes working with clients in addiction, you don't get to see the results.
Mm,
Sometimes you do, and it's like beautiful when you
yeah.
get to see that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't,
Yeah.
they just don't get it, or they get it in 5 years, or they get it in 1 year.
Mm.
And you don't know. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's hard to keep track, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you had like a, I don't know, a designated alumni department or something.
I know, where they say, "Hey, guess who's
Yeah.
still sober?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
calling for Mary. We were just checking in on it. Yeah, that's wonderful. So what's the book like? Just give us like some insight into the start to finish, or.
Okay, so when I started to like organize it into chapters, there's one chapter, "You can't make this stuff up."
Ah, that's great. I love it.
Because therapists, and they'll really relate to this. It's like things that happen when you're working in treatment or with clients. It's like we would always say, yeah, you can't make this stuff
Mm,
up, it's just it's so, odd and so
yeah.
different. And yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday about the clients that come into detox and, run around the detox unit naked when they get there. And, and
Yeah.
then you get to see them, in a month before they leave treatment, and they're like a totally different
On
person.
fire.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
So and then I have chapters on what I learned from clients, which is a ton of stuff. So, when I first got out of school, I felt so educated and I thought I knew so much.
Mm,
And it's like, no, no. I mean, when I went back and looked at my syllabus, I was cleaning out papers during COVID because there was nothing else to do.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I looked at the syllabus from school and I was like, oh my God, this is it's like scratching the surface of what
Mm,
it's like to be a therapist. So, and I remember my friend Nicole that I worked with in the first treatment center I worked in, she said, don't worry about it, just learn from them.
mm,
They will show you, they will
mm.
teach you. And then my boss at that same treatment center gave me my first client that had borderline personality disorder.
Wow.
And I went to him and I said, you made a mistake. I don't know how to work with this kind of client. And he goes, oh, you have to learn. And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the style.
Yeah, I mean, and he was right. And I did learn from her. And
Yeah.
then I remember my first schizophrenic client. He was this young guy who was in college and he had his first psychotic break
Yeah.
and he ended up in treatment. And we had a great psychiatrist at that facility. And he had been misdiagnosed. He wasn't diagnosed schizophrenic until he saw our psychiatrist, and then he told the psychiatrist that his grandfather was schizophrenic. It's like, hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's genetic and like a lot of mental health
Yeah.
issues. So, yeah. So he
Yeah.
taught me, and I said to him, "Can I will well, I haven't worked with anyone that
Yeah.
has this diagnosis.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Can you
Yeah.
help me?" And he said, "Sure." You know.
Yeah, I know it when I see it, and I'm thinking, listening to you, and taking me back to my schooling, and he made me think of this. I never had a professor teach me heart. And it has to.
Mhm.
I think it's either you got it or you don't.
As a therapist?
Correct.
Yes, or counselor? Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. There's things they can't teach you in school
Correct.
that
But I also make it a point, with Beachway, I still have the honor of facilitating a couple groups
Uh-huh.
a
Cool.
week there. Yeah, substance abuse,
Mhm.
and I always try to bring to the table as honestly as I can, because right, there's power in the honesty, and you can't
Mhm.
take it away from me when I
Right.
tell you everything you need to know is already in you.
Yes,
And I
I
say,
do too.
you want to know why? And they're all like, they never hear that. They're doing this to themselves
I know.
all day, beating the heck. And you got this guy you don't even know, and telling you why he believes in you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I tell them too, right? You guys teach me more than you'll ever know.
Yep.
But maybe one day you'll understand that with a little more clarity of what I just said.
Yes.
You teach me more. And like you said, you cannot get what you can get out of a group, an individual, and out of a professor. You just can't.
No, you can't. And you have to have that sort of innate personality, that intuition. I use my intuition a lot, especially when I was first a therapist, because I did
Mm,
not know and I wanted to help, you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I tell clients when I have a small private practice now, and I tell clients, one of the first things I tell them, if you're looking for somebody that's going to give you advice or tell you what to do,
Mm,
I'm not your person.
mm.
It's like you have everything you need. Let's find out what it
What
is.
it is. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Empowerment through the purpose. Everybody has worth.
Oh,
Everybody
absolutely.
has experiences,
Mhm.
and if they're
Mhm.
coming to you, I would say a lot of them haven't been very nice. You know, like they're
Yeah,
coming to a therapist,
exactly.
them, they're not very nice. And if they're struggling, like you said, with substance, but a lot of us have bad experiences from our past, and those
Mhm.
experiences, because we experienced them, altered the course of our life,
Yep,
changed the direction of our life. And I always try to get people to understand the very simple very simple, the other way, the other thing can happen too. If we can, or I can help you experience, new qualities about you that you always had, you just didn't know.
right.
That may change or alter the course of your life as well.
Oh, absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. I used to work with some kids when I worked for the tribe and, teenagers, young people,
Mm,
and, you know, a lot of times what would happen is, you would work with them or they would go to treatment and they would get a lot better,
mm,
they would be happy and productive
yeah,
and, doing really well, and then they had to go home. And, you know, I always knew that they had a life-changing
mm,
experience. No matter what happened, they had a life-changing experience, and they got to see some of those things about themselves that they didn't know about,
yeah,
that were really positive, that were
yeah,
really good, and then the choice point becomes theirs. They have to choose,
yeah,
what am I gonna do? How am
yeah.
I gonna deal with this? Am I gonna go down this road or that road? And they do have the choice, so
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
it's amazing too. It still fascinates me. I showed up as a Marine. This fella that I met at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. He's the fella that dropped me off at a place here in Florida. He was from Jersey, I
Oh.
was from Jersey. We're still really good friends, and I
Uh-huh,
met him. I don't know, 2021, somewhere in there.
uh-huh.
And when I got out before him, and when he got out, he became a Newark police officer in
Uh-huh.
New Jersey. And no offense to Jersey, I was born and raised. I was born in Brooklyn, but pretty much raised in Jersey.
Uh-huh.
Newark is like a war zone.
Wow.
It's like Afghanistan or Iran or Iraq.
Okay.
It's a very difficult city.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
just beat him down after 6 years. And the agency physician put him on Klonopin, I think, or something.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
he had that genetic coding, but it was crazy because I never seen him, drink, smoke, nothing, like clean as a whistle.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Just wanted to be a cop. And I said, "Geez, Troy, you didn't have enough yet." And he's like, "That's just the way it is, Tim." And I
Yeah.
understood that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things you just cut out for, the rush and
Exactly.
to serve and be there for others.
Yep.
Um, and he had struggle. So in 1 year's time, he was at the needle
Mm.
in 1 year.
Wow.
Yep, and of course, everything was taken away, and
Yeah.
so he came to Florida because we have some of the best centers in the nation here in
Yes, I
Florida.
know. I
Beachway's definitely one of them. That's why I'm
know.
there 7 years.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to tell you.
Uh-huh.
That's why I'm here, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they allow me to be here. I feel very honored and
That's
a
cool.
lot of gratitude. Yeah, I
Yes.
have a tremendous resource to make a difference. I always wanted to make a difference.
Yes.
I just didn't know
Yes.
how.
I know. When I retired from working at the tribe, I always knew every day when I went onto the reservation that I was privileged to be there, for
Yeah.
them to allow me to be there, for them to allow me
Yep.
to help their people. That was
And
huge.
yeah.
Yeah, it was huge because therapy and treatment centers, it's not their native way,
Yeah.
but they also understood that, that world existed in addition to their world
Yeah.
of traditional kinds of things. And when I retired, I met with one of my clients that I had known on and off for years. And all she said was, "Thank you for helping my people."
Uh,
And I lost it. I just started to cry. I mean, that
yeah,
wasn't a normal thing I do with clients, but it was so touching
yeah,
and just such a beautiful moment with
yeah.
her.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the humanity in
I
you.
know.
And that's,
It's
you became a therapist, and
Yep. Yeah.
like I said, it's a certain person,
Yes.
because if you're not that certain person, no disrespect, but if I just been around for a long time now,
Yeah.
you go through a ton of them.
Yes.
Therapist burnout.
Yeah, I know, I know, and
Right.
I talk about that in the book too. I talk about there's a whole chapter on self-care.
Nice.
Yeah, because that's been super important in my journey. Um, this is kind of a funny story. When I got out of school, okay, so here's the setup. I was a single mom raising a 9-year-old son.
Yeah.
I went back to school. I was working full time,
Amazing.
and it was very, very difficult, needless to say, but I know people that do it all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we do it. That's what you do
Yeah.
when you're answering that calling to do something different. And I really felt like I was being nudged along, God wanted me somewhere else. And I didn't know where it was at first, but I found it.
That's such a fascinating experience, isn't it?
It
Like,
is.
there's
Yes.
nothing like it.
I
There's a
know.
certain pull, a certain energy. It's just something like
Yeah.
it's so beyond knowledge, right?
I
It
know. I
just
know.
intrigues the heck out of me. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's really so cool how the whole thing unfolded because I had been in the automotive business. That's what I did. I was in corporate,
Uh-huh.
corporate America, and
Yeah.
and then I kept getting laid off. That should have been the hint. I kept getting laid off.
Yeah.
And I went to work at a newspaper in Boca when the Boca News was there, and it was like 10 minutes from FAU. So now I'm in newspaper advertising,
Yeah.
and I'm being nudged out of that,
Yeah.
and that's when I decided to go back to school. And I had this amazing boss who believed in higher education, so she let me leave every day at 4 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock so I could go to my classes.
Ah.
And then when I got in my internship, I was out 1 day a week, and she was, like, paying me, and she just believed in what I was doing,
How cool is
and
that?
yeah, it was really,
Yeah.
it was just like, "Okay,
Yeah.
Mary, if you just get out of the way, this is gonna go how it's supposed to go,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
have to get out of the way, Mary,"
Yeah. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
she see you graduate?
She wasn't at my graduation, but yeah, I
Yeah, but
graduated
she
while I was still there, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's still with the same
Yes,
boss.
yes.
Oh, how that's phenomenal.
I
What a
know.
wow, gosh, what a great story.
I know, I know. I've kind of lost track of her. I don't know if she moved away or
Yeah.
what, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's why I believe in recovery, and
Oh, yeah.
hopefully that one person that just caught what you just said gives them that little bit of belief, that little bit of hope, because that's the secret sauce.
Yes.
We both love that word.
It is the secret sauce, yes.
Yeah, because the majority it's such a character defect of the person struggling. Like, the belief is sucked out of you, hope is sucked out of
Yes.
you, and I can't do this, and the self-criticism and all these belief systems, and it's just one big lie,
I know that I believed. I told myself that lie so long, I believed it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
kinda like the lies we were telling when in our using days.
Yeah, I know, I
It
know.
almost started making sense, and
I know.
you've been saying them so long
Yep.
that they had, like, consistency to them.
I know, I know.
Like the
Think about
story
that.
like
How weird is that,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
because now, at this stage of my life, I always try to tell people, "Listen, man, a liar always has to remember what they say."
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
The truth never wavers, but we get so as that's another credible asset alcoholics, addicts hold on to, like, and we know how to nurture it like nobody else.
I
It's
know.
manipulation and lie, like,
I know. We're so good at it.
and
It's
it
like
gets and you do it, it becomes true.
yes.
Like, because it
Absolutely.
doesn't waver.
I know. I know.
Nobody can accuse you of lying. It's always the same story. It's amazing.
I know. I know.
Oh my gosh.
It's just crazy. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah.
So you wrote the sort of books for a therapist, right?
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
struggling, like, right, burnout or
Yeah, when I wrote it and when it was done, I was like, okay, this book is for new therapists because new therapists don't really know what they're going to face in the course of their career. Although, my career is not going to be the same as anybody else's career, but therapy is therapy,
Yeah.
treatment is treatment,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
But it's also for therapists that have been around for a long time, because if you read it, you're going to know, you're going to relate so much. You're going to relate and you're going to go, oh, yeah, yeah, we did that. We did that. We used to go out to one of our like safety valves when I was working,
Yeah.
full time. We would go out to lunch, a bunch of us with our boss.
Yeah.
And the rule was you couldn't talk about work at
Oh,
lunch, because otherwise it became another hour of work.
correct.
So
Yeah.
sometimes someone would say in the car, oh, I just need to talk about one thing and then I'll stop. And, they would talk about
Yeah.
that. And then when we got to the restaurant and we were eating lunch, it was like we had
Yep.
to talk about our family, our lives, whatever else we wanted to talk
Yeah, I
about,
love
but not
that.
work.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
did too. It
What a
was
great policy.
I know. It was so great. It was
Yeah,
so great.
that's
So,
awesome. So,
yeah.
any particular part of the book that you want to read about, or
Oh,
that you want others to hear, or you're just
I'm gonna tell you about this. Was written, I have a couple of poems that I've written in here, that I added into the book. And this one poem, I'm gonna read it,
Hmm.
was written about a young man who came into treatment. He was really pleasant, really, you know, cooperative, I guess I would say, but that's like a trap for a therapist, because I used to think that when I first worked in treatment, I used to think that the clients who were really cooperative were the ones that were going to stay sober, and that proved not to be true, because the ones that came in and just were like cussing and spitting and mad and didn't want to talk to you sometimes, because that's what that letting go is like. It's ugly.
Mm.
It's hard. And if it's not, if they're not having a hard time letting go, that's problematic.
Yeah.
So this kid came in, and everybody, in the beginning of treatment, early in treatment, you see people like in 2 weeks, they're kind of like a different person. They've sobered up, they're eating regularly, they're sleeping regularly, they're getting therapy, they're different. So this kid just was like staying in the same place, staying in the same place. And I knew nothing about how to help him at that point, because I was brand new. So, I met with him after a group one day, and I said to him, this is like intuition talking. Excuse me. I said to him, um, can you tell me what's going on with you and how I could help you? And here's what he said to me. If I tell you I hear voices, you'll think I'm crazy.
Uh,
So, and he had a schizophrenic girlfriend. So,
yeah.
1 and 1 is 2 always. So I wrote this poem about him. It's called Stigma. If I tell you I hear voices, would you think I'm crazy? Lying, lilting little voices, sounds in my head. Confusion reigns as in a noisy restaurant during season, struggling to maintain my sanity. Gazing out through eyes, one brown, one blue. You may think me odd, all the while I pray you don't recognize the signs, struggling to maintain my dignity. Alone now, the committee in session, screaming, blaspheming my soul, my head pounding, my heart restless, my soul tired, struggling to maintain myself. Tucked away neatly in pristine white halls, enfolding family secrets a continent away. So I wrote that about him because it was like, it was, for me, it was like one of those things that learning as a therapist took place. It was like, "Oh, okay.
Mm.
He's gonna tell me what's really going on.
Mm.
All I have to do is ask and
Mm.
sit back and listen.
Mm.
Sit back and listen and pay close attention."
Mm.
I always say it's like, um a puzzle. When a client comes in, you get one piece of the puzzle and you put it in place, and you're like, "Oh, yeah." And then another piece comes and it's like, "Oh, yeah." And you start to put that puzzle together so that I have the right diagnosis, the
Mm.
right, going in the right direction with
Mm.
this client in helping them. And so it's really, and I find that part so interesting about doing therapy. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Always fascinating. It always fascinates me. Our brains and
Mm.
our mental health is such a fascinating part of our lives of our spirit.
So what did you do in his admission? Like, did you just continue to build the trust with him and the relationship with him? I mean, as a clinician, did you bring that to your clinical director to ask their opinion? Do you report, or you just keep working with him? Like, how
Um,
did you handle that? I'm curious.
I kept working with him. Of course, I talked to the team about him
Yeah.
because, that's a big part of what happens in
Yep.
treatment.
Yep.
The team is great. The team is
Yeah.
great and useful and helpful, and you got to have it,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think he went. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think he went on any medication or anything. Um, but I think in that conversation, he knew that I knew, and that was probably the first time he ever disclosed that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which was really cool that he trusted
Yeah,
me.
he had that experience.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yes. So I don't know what he did with that. It was short treatment, so,
Gotcha, gotcha. I wonder if he
2018.
still thinks about you.
I don't know.
You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
oh, did somebody man, now this is gonna get deep because when I was listening to you and we just discussed him, I was thinking, I wonder if anybody wrote a poem about you now that's well.
Oh,
My mind
wow.
just went,
Oh, that's kinda cool. That would be really
and
cool.
like,
No one ever sent me one, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, like, but sometimes you just don't know, like,
You
it's
don't.
really,
I know. Like, I've had people tell me that I had an impact on them, when they were
oh,
in
I
treatment,
bet.
and I wasn't their therapist, and it was kind of surprising in a way
Mm,
because I did groups with all the clients, and that's what you
yeah,
do.
yeah.
But one of the things I kind of wrote in the book about, and that's been very, very important to me, is my own therapy.
Mm.
I always joke that I have my therapist on retainer. And she's still working. Oh my god, she's 10 years older than me and she's still working,
I
and I'm
love
like, "You
it.
cannot retire."
Yeah.
But she knows me so well, and sometimes I do therapy with her and sometimes I do supervision with her, so it's kind of
Yeah.
fluid like that. But you got to do your own work. When I was in school, I remember one of the professors asked how many people had been in therapy before, sitting in the other chair, right? And only a few people raised their hand, and I was like, "Oh." But you know what? She
Mm.
said, "I suggest that you go and, see someone for at least a few sessions
Yeah.
and sit in the other chair and see what that feels like,
Yeah.
cuz it's daunting. It's really, to sit in a chair, especially like in the first session when you're doing the biopsychosocial, and sort of talk about every single thing in your life to a total stranger. It's like, how weird is that for the client?
It starts that I call it like the bubbling. It activates the bubbling inside you, like bloop, bloop.
Yes.
Oh, oh man,
Oh,
like
I thought I dealt with that. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
I dealt with that. Where's that
yeah,
coming from? Yeah.
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 You've been working with this woman for years, this
Yes.
therapist.
Yes.
I'm curious. I got another curious thought too now. So has she been able to keep it professional?
Mhm.
Like you said, it's fluid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But does it go into a friendship too? So,
Um,
or like
yeah.
friends too? Are you still able to be fluid with her? What's really going on? And
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
you, you
yeah.
know,
We talk about what's really going on and
okay,
everything.
good.
And we have discussed friendship,
Mm,
but after she retired, but she never retired.
yeah.
So
So
it's cool. So
okay,
we're keeping it like this for now,
yeah.
and
I think
maybe,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah, maybe in the future. One of the chapters in the book is oh, it's called The Wild Wild West of Therapy.
Uh huh.
So, okay, I started therapy in the 90s. That was before I got sober. Well, I got sober in 90 and I started therapy in 89, so they were
Mm,
close together, but it was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. I had a therapist who was great. She was really great, but she was an RN and she decided she wanted to do therapy with people. And in those days in the state of Florida, you did not have to be licensed or anything. You just she worked in a center under somebody licensed. So I'm thinking, like, looking back, she probably didn't know very much about therapy, and I think what she knew was because she had done some therapy
Yeah.
herself, and a lot of times they would just, like, throw stuff against the wall and see what stuck. That was kind of the way they did it,
Yeah.
but, yeah, because in the first session, she told me for some reason, she thought I was an alcoholic, go figure, and she told me she wouldn't treat me if I drank. So I was little defiant Mary in those days, and I was like, "No problem.
Yeah.
I can do that," so for 6 months, I, like, white knuckled it,
Yeah.
just to prove
Oh,
to myself, to prove to her that I'm not an alcoholic,
yeah.
"Look, I'm not drinking."
Yeah. I use that word a lot when I'm facilitating groups, prove.
Oh, yes, yes.
Especially, because I tell them up front, look, I'm going to use this word every once in a while because, I've never seen an alcoholic not respond or an addict respond to the word prove to me. Well, I'll show you,
I know, I know.
and they don't know what to do with it. Like
Yeah.
they just don't know.
I know, I know. Yeah, "I'll show you, I'll hurt me." Boy, that's
Boy,
the one.
isn't that
I
I
know.
call it the pimp.
Oh, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the ultimate pimp.
Yep,
What this thing does. And then,
yep.
it's amazing though. People come for help. They get a little time under their belt. They start taking over again. They start taking back control.
Yes.
And slowly but surely, and then like every once in a while, you'll hear people mock, like say a relapse prevention worksheet, and I jump right on it.
Mhm.
Let me guess, somewhere on that sheet it says you relapse before you put in. How many times have you heard that? Well, what brought you back to treatment? Well, I had a sponsor and a lot of them, not
Uh-huh.
all, but
Yeah, yeah.
and then I know it's coming, and then I stopped going to meetings.
Yep,
So how much truth did that relapse prevention worksheet that you got again because you came back again,
right.
that you were already relapsing before you put in?
Yes.
And it's
Yep.
I've tried to, Mary, over the years to make it as simple as I can.
That's great. I
Well,
love that.
that's where the power is, right? For me and a lot of other people that struggle living life on life's terms, right?
Mhm,
For me, I found that the power is in the simplicity, not the complexity. Because if you got alcoholism,
mhm.
drug addiction, mental health, and you're complicated, you're going to drink.
Oh,
And that's not
absolutely.
condemnation. That's not I'm better than you.
Mhm.
I wouldn't even say that until I got to know your history.
Right, right.
So then I can say, look, I'm only just saying that based on your history, not
Mhm.
judgment.
Right.
You're going to get outmaneuvered. That's alcoholism, has a mind of its own.
Yes, and it's powerful.
It's incredible. There's nothing like it. But, we don't shame. I try to explain the allergy concept too, like Dr. Silkworth did in The Doctor's Opinion in the Big Book of Alcoholics.
Mhm.
A lot of people can resonate with that. If you intellectually, if you have a shellfish allergy, you don't go to Red Lobster,
Right.
or if you have a
Yeah.
peanut allergy and you could have a fatal, you just don't, hey, I'm going to bang out a peanut butter and jelly today, I think, for lunch. You don't do things like that. If you can die from a bee sting, you carry an EpiPen.
Mm,
There's all these things intellectually.
yeah.
But how do I teach an alcoholic who's complicating? I want to say a word, but I'm not going to say it.
Mm.
The heck out of everything.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
You know, how do I teach them you have an allergy and it starts with you don't like how you feel. And when you don't like how you feel, your go-to is to drink.
Yes.
And when you have one drink, you activate the allergy, and the only thing after that is more.
Right.
So
Yep.
how do I get that? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
sometimes it's so simple, it's elusive.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
for me, because there's so many people that are intellectual. I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Look at you, you stop drinking, and gee, all of a sudden you banged out your master's degree.
I
And you
know,
got
I
your
know.
license,
Yeah.
and you wrote a book, and it sounds like you had a really great career. You're semi-retired, shocking.
I know, right? I know. And all I had to do was, like, one day at a time not drink.
But we're the
It's
most
crazy.
resourceful chunk
Yes.
of people that are so successful when
Mhm.
they get into sobriety. It's incredible
It
because
is.
we take all this drive and this tenacity and this resiliency that we had drinking and to keep up that
Mhm.
lifestyle, and we
Yeah.
just funnel it into our sobriety. It's incredible. Like one of the from what I've read over the years, we're one of the higher income earners,
Yes.
and we're in a higher income bracket in sobriety.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
it's just amazing. So
Yeah.
I just try to teach a lot of these intellectuals
I know.
that you've become the smartest, dumbest person you know, and it's your willingness
Yes.
that is the secret sauce. We're two lovers of the secret
Yes, the
sauce.
secret
Ah,
sauce. Yeah.
but it is. What are you willing to do?
Right.
I
Right.
want to know everything that you don't want to do
Mhm.
because that's your ticket.
Exactly.
That's the way out. Do what you don't want to do because everything you want to do keeps you drunk.
Exactly. I know. My
Or,
sponsor, when I was like 5 years sober, I
yeah,
got this sponsor and she was like amazing.
yeah.
And, I would call her complaining about pretty much everything. And she'd say to me, I know, Mary, what are you supposed to be doing right now? And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be doing the dishes. And she's like, okay, go do the dishes and call me later.
Yeah.
How simple is that?
I
It's
know.
like, and you know what? After I
Yeah.
did the dishes, I felt better. It's like,
It's so amazing, right? How
yeah.
we just I don't know, sometimes we just wanna hold on to the bitter end instead of cutting the cord. I call it that transmission cord. Boom. Just learn how to cut it and
Yeah.
interrupt it.
Interrupt the cycle.
The next thing you know,
Absolutely.
you're like, "Geez, boy, that's
What
that
was that?
what the heck happened?
I
Today was a pretty good day," or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to get into the summary and the wrap it up part of the cast.
Okay.
What any last things you would like to say or
Can I
um
read one more little excerpt from the
100%,
book?
yeah.
Okay, this kind of wraps up
Okay.
the book. Clients have enriched my life in so many ways. They have made me see a beautiful and tragic world beyond my sheltered white bread experiences. Clients have shared their hearts and souls with me and trusted me to be the keeper of their secrets, hurts, and joys. They have helped me to become more tolerant and more accepting and more compassionate. The clients I have worked with all these years have a little piece of my heart with them.
No.
Their bravery, honesty, and vulnerability have truly enriched my life. And
Wow.
that's it.
How beautiful is that,
That's
Mary?
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, it's so true though.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing what we can do in this lifetime
Yeah.
for others,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's doing a lot for me too.
Oh, yes.
Like
Absolutely.
it's part of that creative intelligence part about us, a soul,
Mhm.
it's not always the mind, it's the soul,
Yes.
because the mind wants to keep track of everything.
I
It's like, yeah, 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 yeah,
know.
but the soul's kind of like, what's the command for today? What are we
Yeah.
gonna do today? And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. If we did touch somebody today, we did reach that one person today. How could somebody get in touch with you?
Um, okay, the you can look me up online.
Okay, great.
Um,
Like a social media or actually just Google you?
just
Okay.
Google me
And
under Mary Olitzky, and the book is on Amazon. I don't know if it's on Barnes& and Noble yet, but it's called A Therapist's Little Guide to Sanity,
I love it.
and, yeah, yeah, you'll laugh and, you'll relate, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Wow, thank you so much for coming by and
Oh, thanks for
sharing your
having me.
sharing your timeline, sort of say with us,
Mhm,
and your sobriety and your commitment to others, and boy, with that last thing you read, all the times you've been committed to others when they were struggling in silence.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you've held a lot of space for people over the years, and to see you still
yeah,
using your personality and your smile and still showing up even though you're on the west coast of Florida now over here.
mhm,
It's just amazing. I'm really honored that I had the time today with you to share some facts and some
uh-huh.
personal things and of course some laughs.
Yes,
And that's what
yes.
and that's that's what's great about life and just two people, trying to move the needle together. And yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you for coming. I'm very honored. Like I said in the beginning, I'm Tim Roberto. I'm like Mary. You can Google me. I'm on social media like crazy. And if you need help, I know Mary, I won't speak for her, but I'm sure she's pretty much on the same page. We'll stand for you
Yes.
or stand up for you until you can stand on your own. We've
Mm.
been doing it for a while now, and until next time, and from Mary and I, we wish you peace and love. Take care, everybody.